Hello and welcome to the Q&A for the Humans in Spaceflight course. Thank you for joining us on the course for the last few weeks. There were a couple of questions at the end that we can have a look at together. So the first one of these from Karen, and she was asking about a timeline of humans in space aligned to investment risks and technology. So I can't give a kind of full timeline, but what I can tell you is that when you look at, if you look at the Apollo missions and what they did and the amount of investment that went into those, there was a direct link between that investment and the technology that was developed, and also the number of people that did PhDs that so went into kind of higher education and further study because of it tripled around that time. So there was a few different technologies that were developed from it. One of them was solar cells. So obviously there's a lot of those around now, and obviously very useful for us in the future. Things like cordless drills, insulation, high-tech insulation material, coatings for heat transfer, and freeze-dried food, and all these kind of things came out of the Apollo mission. So there's always a lot of spin-offs that come out of technology that's developed for space. And what they're doing on the International Space Station now is really basically scientific research, but using a lab in space. So a lot of developments that come out of things like medicine. You can do things in space that you can't do on the Earth in the way that you're examining people, the way that you're tracking their what's happening to their bodies, and also things like certain fluids behave in different ways. You can grow crystals in different ways. So there's all kinds of different things that you can do in microgravity that you can't do on Earth. That improves kind of our understanding of science. So yeah, it'd be nice to see kind of a timeline of that. I agree, to kind of track the kind of space, the development of humans in space and technology. Another question that came up from Nick was looking at the risks associated with large constellations that are being launched right now, and what they do in terms of the things like the 5G network and the risk of collision and debris destroying all the future EO work, Earth observation work, he says there. So yeah, there are a lot of large constellations being launched right now. The most famous ones are the ones by SpaceX. Elon Musk owns that company, and he is sending up whole constellations of Starlink satellites at the moment. And the idea of these satellites is that they bring mobile technology, mobile communications to the whole globe. So you have a lot of these satellites, hundreds being sent up in what's called low Earth orbit, and they so they're providing global communications, and there's other people doing the same thing too. And the more and more of these satellites we send up, although there's a lot of space in between them, they are in the same sort of orbit. So you can get cases where you might have a satellite colliding with another satellite, or a piece of debris from an old rocket casing, something like that, colliding with a satellite. And this is, it has happened in the past, and we do track all these bits of larger bits of debris and satellites as they go around. So we can normally kind of avoid large collisions by maneuvering active satellites, or even the International Space Station sometimes has to move out of the way of bits of debris. What we can't do is avoid objects which we can no longer control hitting each other, and that in that way we have to kind of mitigate this by designing satellites to deorbit when they're in low Earth orbit. So after a number of years, after their lifetime, their useful lifetime, they actually have to push themselves back down to towards the atmosphere, to burn up in the atmosphere, so that they're no longer in space. But there are missions that are being developed to actively catch non-functioning satellites or large pieces of debris so that they can be brought down. And there's a number of different technologies being developed to try and do this. So there is this thing called the Kessler syndrome, where it is possible that a satellite will collide with another satellite or a piece of debris that will shatter into lots of other pieces. All those pieces could hit other bits of satellites, and you could potentially get a chain reaction where all the satellites within a certain kind of height above the Earth, a certain distance, the low Earth orbiting ones, which are things that tend to be Earth observation satellites, some telecommunications satellites, they could collide with each other and cause this massive debris, which would not only take out a lot of the technology we have up there and prevent us from doing things that we do now, but would create a situation where we couldn't send anything more up for quite a long time because of the fact that all this debris was there. There are different orbits. So there's mid-Earth orbits and geostationary orbits, and so it wouldn't take all of our capabilities, but it would be a major problem. But companies are looking at ways that they can kind of get around this and make sure that we're always tracking everything that we send up, and we're bringing things back down when they've finished their useful life. So yeah, both interesting questions and things to look into more. So thank you very much again for joining us on this course, and don't forget to check the STEM Learning website for more courses that are coming up for primary science, and I hope to see you again soon.